Alright, first thing we do is pull out the cam bearing. Press that out. That goes out that way because there's a lip on the back here. Right in here there's a lip. So if you try to push it in backwards or push it out backwards, you'll break the case. And when it does that, it takes a big chunk out all the way around the whole outside of this thing. So don't do that. It's hard on them. Alright, so we got that piece done. Now we gotta pull out the insert out. Let's see how easy this is. Sometimes they come out relatively easy, other times they're harder. Being an S&S case, the Harley tool don't like it fitting in here. Figures. Why would it be easy? See, S&S has got that little burr right there. The castings are a little rough, so I'm going to go back and grind it away a little bit and then come back and press out the bearing. Alright, back on the press here. So I had to grind that out slightly in there for the tool here to fit up in there. So it's down up in there like it's supposed to. Got too much casting residue left in there. I'm doing that for a little bit right now. Now there's two ways of doing this. You can put a support underneath the center of the main bearing, so to push under less stress, or you just push on the outside of the case. Twin cams, you can't do that, they break. But being an Evo, shovel head, anything before a twin cam, you can usually do it. Just make sure you got good support over here on one side of this. I'm going to pull a pressure on it, see if it moves. Yeah, it moves, so we're good. Right, go down a little bit. Pop that up. Flip the tool over so I can put the bearing down there. And then go ahead and drop it out into the bucket here. Put it in our bucket again. So it comes out. Pull out our pressing tool. The stead's getting in the way. Take the junk off. Make sure the hole's good and clean. Take it out and flip it over. Push the blocks in a little bit. If you got a bunch of crap in here, you need to clean it out before you put the new bearing in it. Bearing race. Okay, feels pretty clean. Okay, use that little titty right here on the top. A little oil hole right here. Now the oil hole should line up with that oil hole, and the titty should be at the top so the oil will drip into it. Now obviously got large tolerance for error on that, so we're going to go ahead and line up this groove straight on with the cam bearing. We need a residue will go right on it. Yeah, I don't like it being that far out, so I'll kick it back about halfway. Okay, need a flat pressing block. Hit down here on the dowel pin. There we go, between the blocks. Now we'll go ahead and push this in. Started. Center it off. Do it one more time. Inches down. Give it a little extra tug. So I got about 4 tons there, maybe flash 5. Make sure it's good seated down there. So now your bearing race is in there. So now we gotta go and hone it. So first we gotta do some measurements though. So that's next. Alright. Just like setting up our rods, we gotta do some measurements here and calculating. So So we got our dial bore gauge here. We got our checking standard for setting to zero. Zeroing it out. Get that zeroed. Then we go ahead and measure up our bearings and our pinion shaft. And then like it. So we'll measure up the shaft first. Same size as the crank pin, 1.25 inches. If you remember the crank pin, it was 6/10 under. These ones here are sized differently. These ones I like running on size. So in this case here, we're running standard to 1 up. So we're 1/10 up. And the bearings, got to measure those. And these are a little bit bigger, they're 1/4 inch diameter. And we're running 8 to 9/10 on this. So these are just slightly undersized. Looks like we're running pretty close to 9 on most all of them. That one's 8. Back up to 9. So we're going to go with 9/10. So this is 1.25 inches plus 1/10. These are 1/2 inch because they're 1/4 inch rollers. So it's 1/2 inch total minus 1/10 each. So it's minus 2/10. So that's 3/10 variable in there. Let's see, one's over, one's under, so we want it being 1 under. Remember? So right now on this 0 here, 1/10 under would be 0 clearance. We want to run about 8 to 9/10 clearance. So that means we take 8 or 9, we take off 1, so it'll be 7 to 8/10. So we want to run it up here between 7 and 8. Most motors are set at 12/10. That's what S&S uses. Now this one here, if you look at the gauge, pull it up a little bit. There you go. We're 2.6/10 under. 2.6 thousandths, I mean. That's 2.9. Right there, we're only running about 16, 17/10, so that's 1.5 thou. So, typical, it's out around the taper. That's normal. Okay, now we can go take it over the hone. We got to hone this out and get between 8 and 9/10. I mean, between 7 and 8/10 over 0. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, go ahead and start we're going to start honing. Right side main bearing. First, we're going to take out our cam bushing hone. There's 2 ways of doing this. You can line hone it, or you can just hone it. Line honing takes a special tool, and I think I have one. Maybe, I don't remember. It'd be in a big pile over there if I do. Or you just do it with one side. I usually just do it with one side. If the case wobbles around a lot or doing something goofy, then I'll try line honing it. But most of the time, with these modern bushings, everything's machined pretty accurately, so you just hone them. You got 4 inches between your bearings, so if you're off by a couple thou, don't make no damn difference. Okay, I got a couple different grit stones I use. That's a fine one, this is the coarse one here. So you know, we got to take out a couple. Well, I got to take out about 3.5 to 4 out, if you know where you measure. Probably 3 to 4, because it's out around by 1. We'll start with that. So we got to measure this quite a bit as we go and try to get the hole squared up. Let's see here. Okay. All right, turn the juice on. Started long when we first started and on down. Spin around the other way. Everything's within 2/10. About a 1/10.5 total reading there. We already took out a bunch of metal, a bunch of the air we have. Small. Go across the stone, you can feel it cut differently. That's how you straight hold it. Cutting a lot. You want to cut here, please. Not, so. So you got to check the hole a bunch to see where it's only not correct the airs. See that? 5/10 under. 1 3/4 under, 6 right there, 5 under, 4.5, 4.5. We got 1/10.5 total there. Got some more. We got about a half, 6/10 on that. Lately, the S&S and Harley case that we're getting, they're running 8/10 for the pedal all around. They get them pre-fitted, pretty crappy. Harleys are worse than this now. I don't know why they can't hold a hole straight. I know they got better tools than I got. Zero. Out. 0. 1/10.5 up right there. This is 2 right the very edge. 2 1/4 right there. A little bit out of round in there for some reason. 3 to 5 for the overhaul. Around 7. So 2, 3 up, 1 up, half up, 1 up, 1 up. You got to make sure you hold the bore perpendicular to the hole while you're plugging through. Switch over to a fine stone. I go like a 280 grit to a 500 grit. 4 to 500 grit. Big difference. Off, reset our diameter. Cut a little bit on the outside, get the stone. Feel like it's even cutting. Quarter. Deglaze our stone. We got the stone across here. Also pump the pressure up. Finer the stone, the more pressure it takes to cut. Got a case of Walker slide. No big deal. Four, slightly over 4, about number 4. About 2.5. A little bit out around. Stone doesn't cut, so it's just straight on. We're doing something now. Case of nothing in this quarter down there. quarter got the case all wet. Fingers all wet. Okay, let's do it again. We want to still 4, 5, 4.5, 4.5. What's in there now? Not that very fast. Typical small fine stone it is. Along the hole. We want 7/8. At least one over because of the heat. Might shrink too. Make sure at least on the high side of it. Doesn't seem like much, but make a difference. 7 to 8. Pretty close. We'll get a few more strokes. Compensate the heat. That should do it. So we got right now before we cool it. We're at 9 top to bottom. 8.5 right there. 8 3/4. 8.5. So I'm pretty much holding about 1/2 a tenth. Not bad for a piece of crap hone. So I'm going to clean this all up and we'll measure it again when it's cold. Okay, I got the race all cleaned up here. You can see how smooth that is. Super fine finish. That's what we're after. So I'll go ahead and put this up here. So you can see over here somewhat. Oop. Come on, camera, quit fighting. There you go. Alright. I went back and actually honed this out another tenth. See the dial? Oh. Where's the dial at? Stupid camera. It's hard to do without a hand. Now I can see a hammer. Alright, so you can see the dial right now. About 9/10 there. Nine and a half maybe. So I went ahead and loosened it up a little bit because it felt too tight to me. Ah, stupid camera. Go. So no matter what the measurements say, I always pre-fit it. So that means we take our shaft and our bearings and lock it up. And if you don't like what it feels like, you do something different. And the other way. So we get it inside the case here. Got a little bit of clearance in there, equally how I want it. And before it was really, really tight, so I didn't like that. So not all those rollers that we measured were, we didn't measure every roller, so some of those were a little snug. There must be some burrs on the end of the shaft, because it gets tight when you come out too. Something going on the end of this shaft. I can't put it in backwards, so. Alright, so that part's done there. So I can go ahead and put the cam bearing in here now. So that's this little needle bearing. So I'll go ahead and get this over on the press and we'll show you how that goes in.